Hi there, my name is Kendrick, and today I get to interview Irina. So, Irina, welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah, for sure. Can you tell us your full type, please?
Okay, so I'm INFP, double feminine, F-I-N-E, consume, sleep, play, last, mope.
All
I'm
right.
mope.
Yes, yes, you're pretty extrovert for Mope actually, but
Oh, this is just my play energy hour. I'm gonna crash.
I see.
Yeah.
Um, when you got your typing results back, what did you think and how did you feel?
So I got my typing results in 2020. So they weren't doing the social type back then. I don't know that one yet. I kind of went through like the normal stuff, like the 3 month classes, and I was looking at like consuming as one does. And I kind of knew about the sleep. I knew I was like sleep consumed. I was like, I'm not extroverted by any means. But I had a really hard time seeing any of like the functions. I thought, the thing I oftentimes is I thought I was all demons, man. So I didn't know. I couldn't really see the consume very well. I knew I wasn't blast. I knew I wasn't play. So yeah, I couldn't see. I couldn't see FI. I couldn't see any. Because most of the INFPs are like in super creative environments. They're like actors, writers, and kind of like the stereotypical ones that I was kind of like looking into. Because I came from Myers-Briggs. I read everything there was to read about that one. So yeah, when I came to ops, it was a little bit surprising, is what it was. It's like when I heard Dave's audio, it was like, oh, what? Is this what I am? How? But yeah, when he was like talking about it's like, yeah, they really saw like the masculinify. And then yeah, I'm guessing an E somehow. I don't know. I didn't see it in myself. I didn't know.
What type did you think you were before you got your official typing?
I guess I was upside down. I was like, I'm not a feeler. How dare you? I was like, no, I'm not. I'm just like, yeah, I'm logic. I am like, I work as a software developer, so of course I'm a logic person. Yeah, so technically, yeah, I didn't really have any idea. It's unclear. Yeah.
I guess with a software developer, it's more double observing that you're doing. So,
I think, yeah. Probably that's kind of what Dave also said, that some of the INFPs are in kind of these tech fields almost. Uh, he like opened was like, yeah, you have Elon Musk observers, and I'm like, cool, I guess. I don't know what that didn't really like affect me that much. I didn't know because I can't see the double observing that I'm doing. Is like I can't see that.
oh, the NE and the SI, like going back and forth between them.
Yeah, I don't see that. It's like I didn't relate. I think I knew I was a decider because when I was listening to the videos, like, wait, I am not afraid of my fridge. So I was like, yeah, I'm not afraid of my fridge, and I definitely would be more into like the people issues. So yeah, I cannot understand. Although I feel like having like demon SD would make it kind of yeah, there are more frustrations with things in real life, with like stuff that I would have to do. So I kind of related to that a little bit.
Can you talk about people problems and like how you were like, yeah, for sure, that's me. I have people problems. Like, can you talk about like how you knew that and like what kind of people problems you've had?
Well, yeah, I mean, growing up, I knew I was like I didn't have a lot of friends, which was yeah, maybe indication of social type. I don't know. But I mostly spent a lot of time kind of like by myself reading or whatever else I was consuming. So I didn't really have a lot of interactions with the tribe. Almost is like, yeah, you're just kind of like in your own bubble and just like lost almost. You don't. And later on, it's like that was me as a kid, but later on, kind of like you feel like, yeah, maybe do I didn't quite feel like you belong. And you kind of end up having like those issues. Like I struggle a lot with depression. And the way masculine FI kind of plays out is like I feel like every situation is about me, which sounds terrible. And yeah, the first instinct that I would have is like, okay, what did I do wrong? It's like in this situation, if anything's like if someone was upset, I was like, oh shit, did I do anything? What happened? Did I? It's like, how can I fix this? So yeah, a little bit like one of the biggest unlocks that I had was like thinking, it's like, you know what, dumbass, not everything is about you. So uh, you can relax a little bit, you know, look at what the other person's doing. So yeah, that's kind of how it felt.
Yeah, I did notice that with like DI people is like there is like that level of self-absorbedness. Like even like the non-deciders, even the double deciders. Like my girlfriend, for example, she's an INTJ and she's not selfish, but like I mean she kind of is, but like it's more like the self-absorbedness. It's like if someone tells her a story, she'll always bring it back to her. It's like how is this about me, you know? Like like uh like she's like NIFI, so INTJ jumper. So it's like so I'm like, huh, interesting. How come somehow everything comes back to you? Like, how does it like? I mean, it has nothing to do with you, you know. So
It's like, what's wrong with you? This is a story about elephants. How did you make that about you? It's
yeah,
like I don't know. It's like yeah, that's kind of a thing I I've noticed. I've definitely noticed that me bringing the story back to me. Um, yeah.
you said that you didn't have a lot of friends growing up, and you said it could be because of your social type. I guess, do you think you're one of the social types that have like demon friends? Would you say?
I don't know. I was thinking, yeah, I was like when I was looking at that, what else could it be? You know, because I imagine the people who are like friends high, they would be probably seeking out more, but it is kind of blast, last, and DI, which do trump that. Kind of there, you're still obligated to that. So I do feel like I crave that. Like one of the issues that I kind of like struggle with was like this feeling of loneliness, just isolation. And yeah, I don't know. I would be curious to know if other INFPs out there felt like that and what their social types are and like how does that interact with their animals and everything. That's just kind of like my experience. I can only speak from what I know from my point of view.
Do you like hanging out with people?
Uh, not all people. No, yeah, it depends. I think I'm pretty easygoing. Some people, it depends. It depends. I can be like very, uh, like grumpy cat, but that's just masculine. If I kind of like IPs, they're like portrayed like that. But
Yeah,
I don't. If I'm around people that I kind of like enjoy being around, I love it. Yeah.
yeah, because like the last INFP I interviewed, like the one I just published, is she's a social force, so she loves people, right? Even though she's lead sleep, you know. So it's like it's always interesting to see those kind of like um what do you call it? It's like opposites, you know, like
Exactly. Yeah.
you're like lead sleep, but you love people. My girlfriend is also like lead sleep, but she loves people. So she's always with people, even though she doesn't want to hang out with them. She does want to hang. The moment she hangs out with them, she's like exploding in happiness. So it's like, um,
Yeah, yeah, maybe I would have the same. I don't know. It's very hard to see self as from the outside. So
yeah,
I would need to have someone follow me around the camera and see okay, how do I look when I'm around people that I like? It's like I don't know. I would need someone to tell me. It's like you told your girlfriend, it's like, hey, you're so happy. What are you doing? You're exploding
yeah,
with happiness. Like, yeah, you love people, you idiot.
yeah.
I would need someone to do the same for me, maybe.
You said you work in software. Software. Do you?
Enjoy it.
No, not enjoyment's not the word I'm looking for. It's like, do you like doing that work like repetitively over and over again in that like being good at that one area, or do you like see yourself being like in management, you know?
Oh, this if this relates to like the social type, if you're like a 2 or 3 or so or something.
Yeah, one, two, or three, or something.
Yeah, I don't see myself managing necessarily. I've never been in that position. It's like what I've been typically doing for the past, I guess, 10 years or something, these like specialist jobs. Like, yeah, I'm just like a software developer. I don't really care much about it though, which maybe influences how I feel about things. If I was in kind of a profession that I did care about it. God, I hope my employer doesn't see this. I really love my job. Yeah.
They won't
uh,
trust me. I told my employer I have a YouTube channel. They didn't even care. They didn't even watch it.
I think I'm safe.
No, they don't care. They don't like I have so many people that gets paranoid. I'm like, someone's gonna see this. I'm like, no one cares. No
No.
one cares.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm kind of definitely sure my employer wouldn't care. But anyway, yeah. Um yeah, so if I'm thinking about like do I enjoy doing repetitive work? I don't think so. But with this job, it kind of feels like I'm never sort of doing the same thing. Um because it's I mean, with tech, everything is like really like I code websites and everything in that domain. It just changes every single year almost. So I don't feel like I have, and all of the problems that come at me, they're never the same. So I don't really feel like I'm tackling the same thing like over and over and over. And it always doesn't also kind of doesn't feel like I'm specializing. But that might be something that is because I'm demon feminine TE, which I think in the last up live video, I talked with Shan towards the end, and she was saying, yeah, you don't remember your skills, which would make it very, very interesting for a specialist. Because, like, yeah, I don't quite remember what I'm good at. I don't remember the skills. And if I'm in a field that I don't really kind of like FI value, doesn't I'm not like it doesn't energize me necessarily like coding, I don't care. Yeah, I feel like that wouldn't be something that I don't know, I wouldn't be a typical specialist maybe, but although I am doing the same thing, I've been doing that for 3 years. Like I know how Dave talked about it in his one of his audios, and they said, you know what, just like don't think about what you think you're doing or what you want to be doing, your dreams or whatever. It's like, what are you doing right now? Like right now, what are you doing? It's like, yeah, I'm in a specialist job, and but there are kind of also aspects that I'm not quite sure I relate to for the threes. Since they do say they're kind of like goal oriented and they're going somewhere. And he was kind of like saying like, yeah, and they're laughing at the fours or something because they have like no drive, ego or something.
Yeah.
So I relate a little bit to kind of both. So I'm not sure. It was yeah, it was interesting the way you put it in the last INFP interviews, like, oh, maybe you have both or you are a four, you like specialize and friends, kind of question mark. So
If you're a four, then you automatically have specialized as a savior. So yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
All right, maybe we'll deviate from this and we'll come back later because I
this
think
could
it's
go
better.
on. It could
What's
go on.
that?
It could go on forever. I could probably talk on this
Well,
forever.
oh, because like I want to get to know you from the other angles first before like I come back here because I'm like don't have enough info to like
I
stay.
do have one. I do have one point of view, like because before COVID, I worked at same job, same company, same team, same people, and I felt really unhappy. After COVID, I went through kind of like a rough period. I came back, same job, same people, same position, same thing. But I started focusing on not the job itself and what I was doing, but on how can I help my team solve things and just do whatever needs to be done for my team. And if I focus on that and it's like, okay, yeah, I am just here to do whatever needs to be done for my team, I've noticed I feel a lot better about it. And it's same environment, same thing. It had nothing has changed except the way I kind of like think about it. Same thing. So that was interesting.
That's probably the T at the bottom. You want to connect with people through work, So that's usually with INFPs and ISFPs. So uh the sense of joy comes from that T at the bottom.
Yeah, just if I focus on the team and doing the teamwork and we're on this kind of like together sort of situation, it's better. with coding, it sometimes feels like it's a very TI type of
It is,
environment.
yeah. Yeah,
It
that's
just
weird that you're in that field.
and
Yeah.
I know there are like areas of software development that are good, like for the TEs, you can definitely like I've seen people who I think they're TE
Yeah.
because way like we interact well. We're just like it feels like we're two idiots. Like, okay, let's just jump on a call and solve this. So it's like and another TE idiot is like, oh, do you want me to join too? Yeah, let's do it. It's just everybody there just throwing shit at the wall, kind of.
Yeah.
That's kind of how it feels. Yeah.
Well, we'll come back to the social type. I think once I talk to you more, I think I'll have a better idea. Let's talk about your double masculine, double activated NF consume. This is your first animal. It's super aggressive because it's double activated. It's
Oh yeah.
double. It's the first animal double activated. Is double masculine. Uses your first two animals or first two cognitive functions. So it's like the most abuse of the most abuse. Can you share like how you personally experienced that?
Oh yeah, it's like I think I was thinking about this like it's a 0 out of 10. I do not recommend. I it's a beast. It's a beast. It's definitely been I think yeah, it's like I definitely relate to a lot of what the op videos were saying. It's like get hold of your first function. And probably in my case, it's my first animal. I feel like with this trifecta I have like double savior, double activated, double masculine, consume. You need all of the other animals in the stack just to keep that under check. And yeah, that's kind of I think streaming streaming services were invented for people like me.
Probably
Yeah, I think since
100%.
it's like devious. I hate them because they're like just abusing spore consumes over blast because it's just insane. And it's very hard to control. I've felt that it almost feels impossible. Like you really have to be in a tough spot to come to realize it. And I still do it. I still do it like all the time, all the time.
Yeah, I've noticed that with you guys, the blast last double activated consume, it's you guys get sucked in that streaming service stuff like really
Bunch.
bad. Like my girlfriend has that. My sister is like also blast last double activated consume. So yeah, I've seen you guys like definitely um and and it's whenever you have a double masculine animal, it's like a gravitational pull, so you can't escape it. Like it's good for me. I have double masculine sleep, but it's last, so it helps me actually. I can use my last animal because I can see it. So it's
Yes,
like it's in the double masculine
good
flavor.
place.
It's in a good spot, you know, like the best possible spot. So I'm very thankful for that. Um, but you have it as your first, so yeah, that's like an addiction right there. That's like an inescapable addiction. Um, and also like because I'm also I'm ENFP, right? So I have even though I have demon consume, my NE and FI is still my first two
Yeah.
functions. I consume a lot, even though I have demon consume. But the thing is, I can control it because it's not a savior, it's a demon. But I can consume for like hours on end. Like I do. So when I see you guys with the double activated consume, double masculine, I just think you guys are screwed. No offense. Like I don't know, like because I
Yeah.
already consume a lot and mine's a demon. So if I'm already consuming a lot and it's a demon, what are you then you guys are like I can't even imagine how annoying it is to get stuck in this like loop. Like maybe it's not even enjoyable anymore. I don't know. Like do you still think it's enjoyable or no? There's like a
Oh,
part of you that tells you like you should probably stop, you know?
yeah. I mean, sometimes oh man. but you see, you're like very aware of it, you know? Like for me, if I get sucked into that, I wake up sometimes like, what's happening, you know? So
That's funny.
what did I do? It's like, how did I get here? Um, no, it was like I have to put limits, like physical limits. I don't really have social media. I don't have Twitter. I don't have any Instagram. I just cannot because it feels like you're kind of obligated. And like you said, it's like a pull. It's like I have to go there and I have to like get all of it. And um yeah, it's you really have to like put the limits. physically, whichever way you can, try and do it. And I was like, okay, that's fine. I won't. Because otherwise, it kind of just ruins your life a lot. It's like I'm in my 30s and I've kind of like seen like, yeah, I'm just barely getting to the animals, you know?
Yeah.
How also because it's such a huge thing that you wrangle. Not to be like, oh, woe is me. Um, but yeah, it's you kind of have to be a little bit aware that okay, this is a problem. This is definitely a problem. And it's also when this happens, I mean, not to get into the blast last thing, it feels like, yeah, I need to consume the entirety of the internet before I get started. That's how intense it feels. Because I need to have all of the understanding and information. And I've talked to some like I have a friend who sleep consume, and she's exact same type as the girl you interviewed the last time. And she also has like double activated masculine consume, but she kind of she doesn't get sucked into it as much. I'm sure she does, but I don't. It's like I've watched all of the op videos, man. It's that bad, and I can do. I've done worse. I've seen all of the movies on Netflix. I don't know, not all, but I can't watch Netflix anymore. I've canceled that. It's a problem. So yeah.
Well, I've seen most of the off videos, so I don't think it's that bad, especially if you're trying to learn it. So I don't think it's a bad thing. But like, yeah, if you watch most of the streaming stuff on those Netflix, that's definitely a problem. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, it's like
let's
ask me about a show. I've probably seen it. It's terrible. It's like it's not good. I have to stop. Like yeah, it's an addiction.
um let's talk about your next animal, SF sleep. You have it in a savior state. It's your second. It's how do you personally experience that SF sleep of yours?
Uh, um, I've yeah, I wasn't quite sure what SF sleep was. It felt like only recently starting putting like steps into having like a routine and sort of like whatever FISI is like rules, like everything that has to do with actual sleep.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of just basically it's been maybe a year since I actually started having a routine. It's like okay, I'm actually like good with sleep, exercise. Um, I just try to do these consistently, which hasn't been the thing that I would normally do. But I think the way we're talking about these kind of like introverted animals, like the sleep, since it's stacking, it apparently does take a lot of time to get to do it right. And it's kind of like this repetitive, like putting in place and building the habit. And I've kind of just now been doing that. But also kind of like the sleep comes in when I just, I pause. I pause. I don't like, I'm kind of like, oh, what is this? Like, it comes into like that, a little bit like that pause before going into something, as opposed to just jumping in right away. It's like, yeah, let's do this. There's some processing. It's like the pre-processing that you do beforehand. It's like I'm constantly trying to conserve energy. It's like that's kind of how it feels. I feel so tired, so I don't want to be more tired.
Right.
But I don't have the energy. Literally, I just do not. That's kind of how it feels a little bit. I don't know about SF. Um, I don't know how that plays out. It's like, what is that SF? It's like the cool factor. I'm not cool. I've never seen myself as cool, like by no stretch of the imagination. So, um, I've never quite seen that game, but I imagine like the coolness thing is more of an SE domain because of like because it's extroverted and comparing in the outside world. I don't know if SIs people do that.
You don't copy the trend with SI, but
Yeah.
it's still there. So if someone were to tell you you're like super cool, you're badass, you would probably feel really good. So um,
Okay. I
because
yeah, that doesn't register with me. It's like okay, why? I would be
well,
like,
it's
where?
well,
So
because it's not we're not talking that there's no context, so you can't obviously feel it. But like you need to have the context before you can, you know,
yeah,
before it can register, right? So there's no context, so it's not gonna register, you know.
yeah. No, but I've had someone say that once to me. He's like, oh my God, you're super cool. And I was like, What? Who? So it's yeah, it definitely didn't quite but I don't know, like the
What if someone says something bad to you, like criticizes you? How would you feel?
if they criticize something, what exactly? Depends on what it is.
I don't know. Your like life, your life decisions.
Oh, it's my life decision. But then I think then it kind of hits my TE then for me, kind of how it feels. Because decisions like the logics and like the things and between what I value, if they kind of criticize what I value, um, kind of depends. Kind of depends. I would take a hit. I would kind of like be, oh, okay, that's not. It wouldn't feel good.
Yeah,
Sure.
but
I would maybe reevaluate a little bit. I would start like, okay, what is that? What is that about?
you seem to prefer negative feedback over positive feedback. Like I'm talking to you right now. You're giving me that vibe that
Really? Oh, is there a vibe for that? Interesting.
yeah, I'm talking to you, and it seems like I don't know, like I'm only be talking for like half an hour, but like it seems like you're giving me the vibe that you prefer negative like criticism as opposed to like you feed off the criticism as opposed to feeding off compliments. I don't know if that makes sense.
Oh, the thing is, I'm very used to the negative. That's the thing. As like that's something that's in my ballpark. It kind of feels like with the masculine FI, and it's there's nothing really that horrible that anyone can say to me that I have not experienced myself and said to myself.
That's what I mean. It's not triggering you. It's like yeah, I don't know how to explain it. Like yeah, there's something going on here that yeah, I'm not quite sure. It could be a social type clue, but like it's
I don't
quite
know. Maybe I'm suspicious of compliments because I don't. I also feel like I didn't do anything to deserve it right now. It's like why? It's like if someone says that, I mean, of course, I would feel like oh, and I of course I do because I do have ego somewhere. Um, so yeah, I do. I would feel like touched if someone said something, but then I would kind of like be like, is that true? That were they actually? Is that true? I don't know. I don't quite believe it. Maybe it's just me being suspicious.
yeah, maybe. I don't know. But there's something fishy here. But okay, anyways, I'll come back to it later because I just think it's kind of fishy. Anyways, let's go to your play next. Your play is NT, so it's problem solving, and it's with a tribe. It's in a hobby position, so it's third.
Yeah.
I've seen most people can use their first three animals actually no problem, even though the third one's a demon. I've seen most people are okay with the third, even though it's a demon. Like it's good enough, you know, kind of deal. So
Yeah,
you
yeah. I think, but I think it kind of depends. I did have these thoughts recently, like, okay, what is NT? It's like, what are like the definition, like the classic definition of play is like, I don't like board games. I don't like. I don't.
but that's board games is not NT. Why is it that's that
It was like just a definition of play. I was kind of like trying to piece it together. I was like, okay, it's like I don't like board games. I have no idea why, because I don't see the point of board games. Is that does not seem to be fun to me. But having these types of discussions, if like it's in a field that I'm sort of familiar with, like if I could talk about op all day, which is probably what we're doing right now. Is this like NT play? I don't
yeah.
know. I'm thinking it's like we're puzzling. I think is that what we're doing? Are we puzzling?
Well, we're in the same quadra, so we're speaking the same language. So our play is the same. It's both NT, so it makes it easier to talk because we're both solving problems, right? In the abstract. So
Yeah,
um
problems in the abstract feels more accessible to me than if I had to help you fix your car, for
yeah,
example.
yeah,
I would be like, I'm sorry, I'm useless. I will make a joke about it. I'll make you feel good.
yeah.
I'll bring you water. But it feels like if I have like no sort of knowledge, prior knowledge, or any type of like information on that, it's like if we were to be talking about, yeah, tell me about the situation in the Middle East, I would say, I don't know, tense. I don't know. It's like I really don't know. So it has to be, it feels like with the NT, it has to be in my ballpark a little bit.
Yeah, well, I mean, NT is just problem solving with the tribe essentially. It's like it's also liking offensive humor. I've
Is
noticed.
it?
Yeah, NT people like with NT likes like kind of like the more clever, but could be on the offensive side humor.
Yeah.
Like for example, like Seth MacFarlane is an INFP. You know,
Right.
he's play last though, and he his humor is very offensive.
Oh, yeah, Family Guy, extremely offensive.
Yeah, it's made by an INFP, right? The play last INFP. So, um, there you go.
Play demon. Yeah. It might sometimes a play comes out like that in sort of like a demon state where I shouldn't be doing it. I might be like making fun of something that I nobody laughs. A lot of the time I find that any humor does not land. And I'm kind of like, okay, I should shut them up.
It'll land with your quadra.
The right people. Right.
Yeah, your
Yeah.
quadra. Yeah, if they're in your quadrat, it will land and it will land well. And I think the other quadra it partially lands, like the ENTPs, those guys, like because they also have any. So
Yeah.
it'll also partially land. It's those lead sensory like SE people that um it doesn't
Maybe.
land well, So
Yeah, and yeah, maybe I've been but not all of them. I have
some
some.
some of them it will land.
Yeah, some of them are like I maybe the lead plays. I don't know. I'm just talking out of my ass. I have no idea.
I think it depends on the person. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's not like oh a specific whatever. Um anyways, let's cover the last animal now. ST blast. I want to cover this one into more detail because it's the hardest one for you. Um so there's different dimensions to SD blast. So I want to go over all of them, right? Let's start with the easiest one first. Getting started. All right. So getting started and producing. How hard is that for you?
Oh man. Blast, it feels like a joke somehow. Getting started. Yeah, I think it comes from trying to do everything kind of like perfectly from the beginning. So you feel like I don't have the information to get started. And it's kind of like daunting to, I guess, yeah. Somehow with the any, what sometimes ends up happening. I don't know. This is kind of like my interpretation of it. You see a lot of the things, everything can go wrong, and yeah, that doesn't help. That doesn't help starting anything because you could kind of like see the realm of possibilities of if I do this and this will mean this, and you kind of just
Yeah.
like it's almost like you just played out the entire thing in your head, and at the point you're like, well, that's what's the point? This is gonna surely happen because masculine and E,
Right.
and I know, and of course I didn't really actually go and check in reality.
Right.
So, getting started sometimes, yeah, I feel like I just have to like jump into it blind. It feels wrong. It feels wrong. That's kind of how it feels with all of like the demon functions. It feels wrong. I should not be doing this. In my body, I feel like this is wrong. It's kind of how it feels.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of double active consume people think they know more than they think
Oh
they
God.
do. But
Oh,
like you don't until you blast, because the blast will tell you how much you actually know. So
exactly.
so the
Yes.
blast is the validation, the self-validation that whatever you've absorbed or consumed,
Yeah. Yeah. Unless
you actually understand it. So
exactly unless you teach it, it's like you. I feel like the lead consumes. They think they know more just because they've consumed so much information. But you need both. You need to put it into practice, and then you
right.
kind of need both. You need both. Otherwise, you're just it's almost like it's not real. And it's if it's an F consume, you definitely need to put it into practice somehow.
Yeah, your consume's only as good as your blast. So and vice versa. Like your blast is only as good as your consume, right? For the consume last
Yeah,
people.
yeah.
So
They're like
uh,
feeding off each other.
yeah, because they it's kind of like double observing or double deciding. It's like
Yeah, you need both.
you need both or it doesn't really work properly. So
Yeah.
okay, cool. So that's hard for you for sure. It's double feminine, makes it even harder. So part of blast for ST specifically, SITE, is like step by step instructions on how to do something, but it's more like it's very concrete. You know, it's like step one. Let's say you're making a smoothie, right? Like step one, put water in a pitcher. Step two, put like 1 cup of ice. Step three, put like the kale or whatever. Step four, the protein powder. It's like step by step. It's like concrete. the other person completely understands your instructions. There's no guessing. As I just told you how to put what you're gonna put in a blender. It makes everything make sense. You know what you're gonna put there. No surprises. So essentially that's how Blast works. Is like for everything that you consume, you should be able to organize it so that you can tell someone a step-by-step instruction on how to do something. If you can't, then you consume wrong. And then you have to try again. Like
Oh no, God, oh God, no.
yeah, like if
No.
you like yeah, if you watch something, that's like, let's say not entertainment. Let's say it's like nonfiction. You should be able to explain to someone step by step. But if it's entertainment, you should be able to clearly explain like a sensory report of what happened to the story with clear timelines. So that's how you actually know what you consume. Otherwise, it probably just flew out of your head after you consumed it.
Right, right.
And
And
then
every sleep after I've done it, if I've done a good job.
yeah. You can organize it in sleep too. That's also good. That's also good. You can organize it in two ways. So yeah.
Oh my God, it's like when you were talking about this, when you were talking about what Blast is,
Yeah.
it feels like such a demon and so it's just I can't even believe that that's what Blast is.
SD
You're
SD blast. SD
yeah,
blast.
the SC with the SI and the TE
Yeah.
specifically, like for Mike, is like I can't even believe that's what the whole deal about the Blast is. Like, are you kidding me? Is that what it is? That's how it kind of feels. It's like that can't be what it is. It must be something more complex. And just like step by step instructions. No, that can't be right.
That's what it
Uh,
is.
yeah, it's like really nobody told me. Yeah, but it's kind of how it feels. It's such a blind spot.
Yeah.
It that's like almost like kind of I'm not aware that that's what is required. But the times that I did get started on doing things, doing it step by step with the small increments was what started getting me going. And that's kind of how I've managed to kind of get started. It's like I'm not gonna, it's like whenever it feels like overwhelming, because that's kind of how it feels when you go into it. It's like, okay, my goal now is just to do this tiny little thing. I did this. Okay. I know I can do this. So I've had like proof in real life I can do this and I can go and do it again and just like build on that little by little. But related to the consume and breaking it up into like these tiny pieces feels extremely difficult if I'm watching like a video, something that I'm learning, and I have to blast it back to someone else. It's feel like, oh my God, that was like so much information. How do I know what exactly makes sense to give to this person at this time? And how will I remember everything to just give to them? So that's kind of why, yeah, sorry, T. It's, yeah, whenever I have to make any sort of like user or like documentation at work, it's a challenge. Definitely a challenge. So I definitely feel the blast there.
Yeah. It's weird because I think you guys make it more complex than it should be. It's not that complicated. I mean, it could be. It could be. Like if you find an ISTJ, they're really good at it, for example. And I can't do what they do because my SITE, much like yours, is the bottom two animal or function, sorry. So even though I have it as a savior, I've had coworkers that are like, blast play INTJs or ISTJ, sorry. Blast play consume sleep, and I'm play blast. So I'm like, okay, shouldn't it be similar? No, not even close. Not even close, because when you have it as your first two, the ISTJs and ESTJs will have it so much better. They can go to it at a much more depth that I can never go, and maybe you as an INFP could never go because we don't have it as like our first two cognitive function, right? So like I've seen it. It's ridiculous. I've seen what like how deep they can go with this, and I'm like, I can't do this. I can do it. I can do it enough that people know what I'm talking about, which is great, but not to that like to that end. Um, so yeah, there's definitely like there are different layers to it. Um, so part of ST blast is also, or part of ST in general, because every animal has like their purpose, right? Like NF, for example, like what is NF? Well, NF is purpose and meaning, right? You know, um, So while like NT is like problem solving or like the Y, right? And then you look at SF, what's cool, what's popular, but more importantly, it's like what's animalistically attractive, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
because SF is like the most pure, like purely like animalistic animal, while like NT is like the furthest away from that, right?
yeah.
That's why when you're presented with SF, you cannot control yourself. It's just there. Whether that be
Yeah.
like another
Fast.
person that you think is attractive or whatever. Like the SF is or like a food that looks really good to eat or whatever. Like the SF is the boss, no matter where it is, right? So, so ST then is competence. Like how competent are you, right?
Mm.
So like for example, if you have ST as a sleep, kind of like the ESFJs, then they get really insecure about feeling incompetent, right? So it's like the difference between the ESFJ and the ENFJ is like one feels incompetent or afraid of being incompetent, while the other one feels afraid of being stupid with the NT sleep, right? So it's like interesting when you have like those different flavors of like the animals and the location of it. So for us, it's like it's extroverted, so it's not like the worst thing. So if someone were to say, "Oh yeah, you're not very good at this," it's like not the end of the world. I'm like, okay, well, what can I do? Because it's not personal, right? TE, right? Um, you know, maybe,
I don't.
maybe would you get offended by that if someone were to say you're incompetent or think you're incompetent at something?
It might, the difference between us might be that my TE is last.
Right.
So that would feel worse. If
Okay.
someone says I'm incompetent and it's feminine, because and I can't track it, I was like, oh, maybe they're probably right. I think I feel like with the fact that you forget what you know, it's totally the feeling that I am totally incompetent. And even I feel that in my job. I've been doing that for 10 years.
Yeah.
I don't feel very competent.
Okay.
Which is, I think that's where people have like this imposter syndrome the most would be like the feminine TE demon.
Okay.
Uh,
Let me ask you the TEY then. Why did you stay in your job for 10 years if you feel like a certain way? Like you don't care about it that much. You don't feel super competent at it. Like why did you decide to stick?
I it's I guess it's so hard to jump out of it, to blast out of it. It's like paper bag syndrome because of the blast last. I'm kind of thinking, yeah, and then you kind of start making up reasons for yourself. It's like, yeah, I don't really feel very good, but I can stay because it is kind of like a field um, that is sustainable, and you
Okay.
can, and I can sort of do it. Question mark.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, they keep hiring me, so there you go. Um, there's not complete incompetence. But yeah, I just kind of like don't. I don't know. There's just I've had this question asked, and I'm kind of like asking myself the same question. But a part of it is also because I wasn't actually sure what I would do in any other field,
Right.
because and you would think I would know, because I'm bleed FI or something. You would think I would know what I would want to do and like, but I'm also, I don't know, I'm a double observer a little bit. Like I look around me and say, okay, I don't want to be a starving artist. I still want to have food. And yeah, given there are like so many reasons I can make up for myself
Yeah.
to just keep me in this situation. I'm kind of like constantly like, what type of pain can I prefer? And I think the blast last people, they're very good at enduring the pain they know, as opposed to maybe the new. I don't know. Could be.
I think it's your double observing. Like you see the reality. Like if you were to go somewhere else, it's not gonna be as good as where you are right now. And also because you're like consume sleep, the effort it's gonna take to rebuild yourself again. It's just gonna be so long, just not worth it. Just stay where you
Yeah,
are.
I mean, I
It's
know.
good.
It's like I feel like I already know how long it's gonna take me because it's taken me forever just to get to this point, you know.
Yeah.
But I do wonder if you have something that I do wonder about that. If you have something where your FI is like more engaged, then you would have at least that savior energy fueling you for a little bit, I'm thinking. And then maybe, if you kind of like try to channel those animals, like, okay, this is important to me, go there.
Yeah.
Maybe. It's also kind of like been circumstances. in life. Where I grew up, you know, it wasn't really like the most valued thing, and what seemed to make the most sense was to go into like computer science and everything. It's like nobody I knew, as I did not know anyone that made a living as an artist, as most kind of like INFPs would tend towards, like singers, songwriters, whatever's.
Yeah.
It also kind of like, yeah, depends on your background, and I guess I'm double observing. I was looking at it, it's like, yeah, this does not seem to make much sense to me. And yeah, but then you end up in situations like this where you feel like you don't really like your job, but then you can spin it around and see if you can make it work.
Yeah, it's hard being blast last, eh? Blast last have it hard, I think. It's one of the harder last animal in my opinion. Because like I have sleep last and I don't think it's challenging for sure, but it's not as hard as blast last, I think. In my
Yeah, you get started on things, and especially kind of like in the real world. This is like ST, right? It's in the physical real world. That's kind of how it feels to me. So in my day to day, like my default mode, I'm kind of like barely aware of the environment. It's like I'm so in my head, and sometimes the things in my head feel like so real, more than like actual reality sometimes, and until it kind of like hits me in the face, and I'm like, oh, that's reality. It's painful.
Yeah, I think the extroverted animals are harder than the introverted one. Because like for me as an extrovert, if I want to practice my introvert animal, it's easier. I can just hide in by myself. But for you guys, if you want to practice it, you have to talk to people or you have to deal with people, whether that be like ST blast or NT play. And like if you had it as a demon, there's like that level of scariness to it and awkwardness. And like and you know the only way to get good is to do it. So it's kind of yeah. So it's like you're kind of stuck, you know? Like I don't know.
Part of it is how much you make it up in your head, because as I said, it's like things in my head feel real,
Yeah.
and they don't really have anything to do with reality necessarily, and then I do it and it's like, oh, that was not bad, you know.
Yeah,
It's okay.
that's true actually. Yeah, what you said is true. It's not as bad as you think.
It's almost never as bad as I make it in my head.
Yeah.
And if you have like a more of like a pessimistic side, it's kind of easy to like, yeah, nothing is ever as bad as you think it might be. You just have to like push yourself a little bit in that direction.
I think one thing I want to add though with the ST Blast is like I think you do have to try a lot of different things with the SD Blast to see what would be the right fit for you because you don't know like like the thing with tea is like something has to stick, right? But you that means you have to try a lot of times before you know what sticks because like otherwise you wouldn't know. Like for me, for example, I work in fitness for 10 years now, right? And people think, oh yeah, Kendrick's a specialist. Actually, no, because I also work in other I have a travel blog, I have a YouTube channel. So I'm doing multiple things at one time. I'm never just doing one thing, right? So but like I've been doing all of them for a long time. So I guess you could say I specialize in a lot of things, but it's more like I'm a jack of all trades, right? So that's why I think I'm a two. But like even in fitness, when I was working in fitness, I never just did one thing. Cause like there was one guy I interviewed. He's a personal trainer, the ESTP guy. Um I don't know if you saw his video, Samuel. But anyways, so he he only does personal training to help people look good. So it's like specialized into like one thing only. It's literally like one area of like that fitness. It's just aesthetics, right? Um, well, for me, when I did fitness, I started off with personal training, and then I was doing the typical weight loss stuff, and then I switched. Later on, I trained seniors, and then I got bored of that, so I trained like I thought like what was it? I did group fitness, and I have I teach spin, and then later I got my yoga certification. So I tried like a whole different stuff, right? So I'm like doing something different every time, you know. And then
Is
the
that
only
the
thing that's stuck, honestly, is spin. I love teaching spin. I'm horrible at yoga because I'm play blast crackhead. Imagine someone told me when I was teaching yoga, I teach yoga like a spin class, and then I felt
power yoga?
horrible. What's that?
Isn't that power yoga? It's like people like make a like work up a sweat to that? I don't know.
No, I think it's I talk too fast.
Oh,
And
okay.
I'm hyper, and
Really?
then yoga's all about being zen, right? So it's like I don't have the right vibe, I don't have the right like, whatever. It's not the right fit. Even though
Sure.
technically I'm a yoga instructor. And then like that's why spin was the right fit because spin's all about being hyper. So it was like perfect, right? You know?
And you just randomly found it?
What's that?
Did you just randomly found it's like, okay, I'm good at spin and I like this. How did that happen?
Well, I mean, I didn't even want to teach spin. It's like my boss was like, Kendrick, we need spin instructors. Can you get your spin certification? I'm like, okay, I guess. Not really keen, but whatever. They're like, we'll cover the cost of your course. I'm like, okay, fine. So I took it. I'm still kind of like not sold on it after I took it. And then I started teaching it, and people love my spin class because they said, oh yeah, man, you play the best music. I'm like, yeah, I do. I do play like I do play music that like people don't play in spin. Like I play like the different like I play like a lot of hip hop and I mix it up because like usually they play aerobics music and spin, but for me it's like hardcore hip hop and stuff and like but not just hip hop and rap, but I also play like EDM, house, pop. So I mix it up, right? And then and then I realized for me spin was like an outlet for my SIFI. So I use my SI to like organize like the music and then it hits your FI differently. So it's like um I'll play one song that's like very aggressive, hostile, and then next I'll go to like a really like zen music, and then I'll switch up to like something like high energy but positive, and then switch up again to like sad, like depressing, and I put people in like an emotional roller coaster, and I organize it with my SI, right? SIFI, right? And then I was like, I really enjoy this, like putting people on like a journey, like an emotional journey during the spin class. To them, they just think they're listening to the music, but they don't know I'm actually doing this in the back end. Like it's like constructed on purpose that way. So for me, maybe it's stuck because for me it was like an SF outlet. I don't know, but like and I also like personal training, but I only like having one client. I don't like before I used to do like 40 hours a week, but now it's like nope, I'm only training one person just for fun. You know, just my favorite client. If I don't like you, I'm not gonna train you. I don't care if you're gonna pay me money. You can go away. Train someone, go to someone else. So
That's very fine.
what's that?
It's very fine. It's like, yeah, I don't like you. I don't want to trade. I don't want to work with you.
I don't care about your money. Yeah, go away. Yeah, you want to train with me 3 times a week? I don't care. You know? Yeah. So but yeah, but like so like and I have a different job now. So like, so that's that, right? But then I have to use my ST blast to figure that out, right? So that's what I'm trying to say. It's like I think a lot of blast people, they don't know what they actually like. Like a lot
No,
of guys, you actually don't know what you like from like a career standpoint because you haven't
done all of
done
this.
enough. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I definitely found that to be true. Yes. Yeah, because you kind of like think about it, but you don't actually know and you haven't done it. So that's the problem. And because I kind of like that's kind of how I was with exercising.
Yeah.
Before I started, I went to like I weirdly okay, I tried this one time, like I went like I do weightlifting and apparently I love that. And I
Yeah.
didn't I had no idea.
Yeah.
Or like I didn't even know like I like dancing. I thought I did not like dancing. And then I went to one class that's like house music. Is like I really loved it, and now I do that. It's like,
Nice.
God damn it, is that what you do?
That sounds like
You
my
just
girlfriend. Yeah. Yeah,
yeah.
it took me 3 hours to get her to go to the gym once to when we first started dating. Trying to get her to go to the gym to lift weights. And she grabbed my sink. She's like, I'm not going. She's holding to my sink, right? It took me 3 hours to convince her while she's like grabbing onto my sink that she finally went. And then when she went to the gym, she freaking loved it. And now she's a personal trainer and she's really good at it. It's like, and she's blast last, right? So like the tribe had to drag her. That's usually what happens to blast last people. Is the tribe has to drag you to go try something new, right? To yeah, and then to do something new, and then you're like, wow, this is awesome.
Man, yeah, that is definitely accurate. I kind of like I'm seeing that more and more, which is yeah, it's a blind spot. Again, it's like I don't know what I don't know. It's one of those things.
So I'm gonna wrap up the interview soon. So I'm gonna ask you a few rapid fire questions here. First one is sexual modalities, tester and visual. So smell and sight. How do you experience like that. And also because you have SI, so your tester is gonna be different from the SE people. So yours is more like your favorite sense and your favorite taste, you know.
I think I have like the weird negative spin on those. Since
Oh, sure.
I get triggered. Like I'm kind of like very sensitive by the smells,
Yeah.
but I also experience like a lot of like that like extreme joy when I do smell the different smells. So, but not all of them. Yeah, it's kind of like a limited range. And I think the tester, I'm not quite sure how I experience a tester. It's mostly, yeah, it feels like it's mostly trying out things in small amounts, like, and probably food, mostly for food, or it could be experiences sometimes, but I don't know if that's kind of like a tester thing. I'm not quite sure if that applies. But yeah, I do feel like I have like the negative parts where like I'm really it gives me like the misophonia thing. I also have that as like the sounds that trigger me. But I also get that with the smells a little bit. And the visual, yeah, I'm kind of like I feel like it's a visual learning experience. And I'm whenever someone tells me a story, it's like when you were telling me a story, it's like I was like seeing it in my head.
Oh, okay.
But if I'm reading something, I'm actually like literally seeing the movie. It just plays out in front of me. When I kind of like remember something, if I write it down, I have like kind of like the image of the page and kind of like what it looks like on the page a little bit. So that's yeah, that's kind of how it plays out.
Your sexual modality seems pretty straightforward to me. So, it, so to wrap up the interview, have you made a decision? What is your best guess for your social type? Would you say, at this point?
Um, I don't know. I think I identified I wouldn't have seen myself as a one. I don't know. I don't, but it's just really hard to see. And
You're
it's
not
really
hyper. You're not competitive. You would say.
it might be, but I'm in denial. I don't know.
Well, I mean, if you look back in your life, were you competitive to other people or not? Not really.
It doesn't feel like I don't get like that. I don't have that drive.
Okay.
Um, like when I play, like I keep getting into games. If I win or something, it just doesn't. I won. Oh, thank God it's over. I don't care. Kind of. It's kind of like I
That's
don't
funny. I don't care. That's so funny.
like yay. Let's do something else that is enjoyable. Yeah, competitive. Like no, I not in that sense. I I don't think so. Again, I would need someone to tell me.
Do you aspire to like manage people or no?
Not really. I think if I was to do anything with people, almost definitely likely be like collaborative thing. I wouldn't. It's really hard me feeling like I have the authority to tell someone what to do. It's like I don't feel that I have that. I feel like a lot of the people that maybe are ones or like ones and twos, they somehow seem to think they have the authority to. I don't know. I don't have that feeling that I know better than you what you should do. Like even right now when I'm talking, it's like disclaimers. This is my experience. I don't know. You do whatever you can.
I think ones and twos, there's a big difference. I think for twos, it's like, no one else is taking
Do it.
control of the situation or managing the situation. So I'll guess I'll do it because no one else wants to do it. You know, and then that's why it's like civil responsibility, right? They took responsibility for everyone else because no one wants to do it, right? You know, while like once it's like they're doing it for their ego, right? So there's like the difference in there, you know.
Yeah, that makes
So
sense. Yeah, I mean, I
yeah,
would take responsibility, but like mostly for myself.
okay.
Feeling responsible for other people is, yeah, feels like a lot. That's kind of, I don't feel like I'm equipped for that. Um, maybe, maybe.
Um, if you were a four, then all you want is friends, like lots of friends. Is that something that you desire? It's just like lots of friends to hang out with and like have a good time, enjoy life, you know? Is that like something that you crave or no?
Um, I don't really like just hanging out for no reason, kind of. Just like hang out by the beach and do nothing seems wrong. I feel like we need to be doing something, maybe. So I feel like that would bring me closer to a three in a sense. I don't know if the
Yeah.
four is hang out to do.
What's that?
I don't know if the fours just hang out and don't do anything.
I
I
mean,
don't know.
they just like people, so they hang out to hang out with friends. It's not. I mean, some people think it's pointless, but it's not pointless because you're
I mean,
you're strengthening relationships by hanging out. So it's not a bad thing. Like especially if you like okay, like as a two, I have save your friends, right? So I mean, like David Shan said, the downfall of two is their friends drag them down, so that's why they don't become the one. Because um, but like as a two, the way I see it is like, yes, I'm building up my businesses, I'm building up, I'm doing my work and stuff. But I know at some point I'm gonna be old, and when I'm old, all I want is to maintain those friendship that I have. So it's an investment into the future because like the ones they become number one and then they look around, there's no one there. It's like like tumbleweed, like rolling in the desert, right?
yeah,
Like
that is definitely a fear that I would have. Like, I would definitely be afraid of just like ultimately, like at the end of the day, for me, like it's the people that actually count. I might be weird about what we're doing when we're hanging out, but yeah, ultimately, I don't really care. It's like it is about the people, but that might be just because I'm a decider as
yeah,
well.
of course.
About the people, and I have demon tribe, and I want to go towards the people as well. Like I want the people in my life, so that's kind of like a fuzzy area for me. Um,
I'm talking to you. I feel like there's like some kind of cognitive dissonance happening, but I can't quite put my finger in. There's something off about like what you're saying and the vibe. There's something there's some dissonance happening. I can't tell what it is. I basically what I'm trying to say is I don't know if you're a three or two. It doesn't sound like you're a one or four. It sounds like you're either two or three, but I don't know which one. I just don't know which one, which is kind of crazy because they're opposite of each other.
yeah.
Um, they're opposite of each other. Um, and if you were a three, that means because threes correlate with blast, so there's the cognitive dissonance already. Like you would be a weird three that has blast last. If you were two, you play deep. You have high consume, so I guess that wouldn't be a cognitive dissonance then.
No,
Uh,
I
but you won't have save your friends though, so that's kind of weird because
yes, that
here
is
here play third, right? So there's also the dissonance.
yeah, and the way they were kind of like talking about is like yeah, but I don't know. I think they were talking more like if the introverted people that have friends high, they want the people to come to them. They won't go towards the people. That's kind of how they were. I think
Sure.
Shannon.
Yeah, sure.
Right.
That makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. I do see the introvert doing that. Uh,
Yeah, so I would definitely like that. I definitely have the people to come to me,
yeah.
and have to seek out, but sometimes you just have to. Interesting. So the the way you're feeling about it is like, would I feel like demon friends or like I mean they both have friends
I
too.
don't know. I mean the only thing I can think of is it seems like you're a very routine person. Am I wrong? Like
Um,
you like your routine? Would you say that or no?
I've kind of like grown to like it. Yeah. So it kind of like yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I honestly I don't know what your social type is. I don't have enough clue to
Um,
I'm leaning towards three, but that there's no I don't have enough evidence to say you're a three because you don't I don't there's nothing to say. It's like it's really hard. I feel like your animals kind of conflict with your type.
yeah, if for three it does kind of conflict, but I mean life pile wise, that's kind of how it looks like. Like
Yeah.
life pile would seem like a three because they kind of like see the twos as doing a bunch of like stuff and businesses, I guess. Yeah, like what you're doing, entrepreneur. Yeah.
Well, it's either business or you have like a lot of different hats that you wear, you know? So um
I mean, it depends like in what field, because in when it comes to my life, yeah, I kind of like manage everything. You know, I'm the one that's in charge of my life, I guess. So, but if you're kind of like in charge of like everything for everybody in your life and everything at work maybe, then yeah, no, that's definitely not where I am.
well, it could just be your department at work, right? Not everyone, but like your department specifically, you know. So but anyways, I will leave it undecided at this point. Um so anyways, Irina, thanks for coming out and doing this interview. We did it like in the spur of the moment, which is super cool. Definitely unusual for your type, but it's cool. Someone has to do it first, so you're the first, so that's awesome.
Well, I got inspired by the other people, you know, like the mopes are coming out of the shadows. So it's
Yeah,
like, there
yeah, they are. Yeah, that's kind of funny. I was like, oh, I'm getting a lot of mopes lately. So
wrong with these people? Aren't they supposed to not be?
yeah,
What's happening? Like, is the world coming to an end?
maybe.
Um,
Who knows?
yeah, I know, like one of the four horsemen of the apocalypse, like the
Yeah,
mopes are coming. I don't
yeah.
know. Yeah, I kind of like I know we maybe you don't talk about this. I would have liked to talk a little bit more about the masculine FI, but and the struggles.
You could talk about it if you want.
I don't know if this might help anyone, because like that's kind of like one of the issues that that's the stereotype of the INFPs and like the depression, and kind of like Dave and Shan, they were talking about it coming from the masculine FI, and when that functions like lead function that's like negative, they seem to like to say that yeah, that's kind of like where a lot of the problems are coming from, like blast last and masculine FI, and if it's like in a negative state, it's kind of really hard to get out of, and it feels like a lot like very overpowering. And I remember I watched one of the videos that you made with all of kind of like the different types from the quadras, and kind of like the way they manage I think like negative emotions or like negative like states. And it was interesting because some of the people you said they said were using tools, some of the people were doing it head on.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
100%.
exactly. And what I found, like for myself, depending on the situation you're in, is like, no, 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 I need all of them. I will use all of the tools, and I will use absolutely all of the tools. And that's kind of like if there's any sort of advice I would give anyone, that's what I would say. Like do everything you have to do and use all of the tools. Use yeah, technically like get the sleep. All of the things that people say, like the basic run of the mill that nobody wants to do, just do those. Like not just, but also do those. Also, like it doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter. Just te it. That's kind of what got me out of it. A lot of the time is just do everything you can and kind of like get help, but also the tools and the tribe. Use the tribe. The tribe felt a lot like a lifeline, like because when that masculine savior fails you, you have to anchor to the other. Like you have to use everything else. Otherwise, it's almost impossible to get out because it's introverted and you won't listen to anybody else. So yeah, I know that's kind of like feels feels a little bit dark, um, but I feel that's something that not a lot of people talk about with the INFPs, even though it's kind of one of the stereotypes. And you have to do it, but also you can't just you can't just talk yourself into it. And again, this is where kind of like the SI and kind of like the things that you need to do come in. You have to like routinely build it up and do it over time and kind of like believe in the process. Like because sometimes you won't feel good, and a lot of times that's kind of how you feel, but then you say, okay, I knew that in the past, I exercised, I felt better. It's like, and ask yourself, how are you feeling, you know? And you go to therapy, you use every single tool you have, you use like even medication, everything, just to get just to get through it. And that's kind of like yeah. And I don't know, maybe it depression is a very complex topic and nobody really knows what exactly is happening and why. So that's why you kind of have to go at it from all of the different angles and just like tackle it, because otherwise it will take you down. It's like it was kind of like I really wanted to bring that out and I don't know, give people a little bit of hope. If anyone is struggling with anything, you know, just like reach out and go, and you know, it's like possible.
Well,
So that was weird, but I kind of felt that I needed to. I don't know. I wish someone came out and talked about it when I was going through a hard time.
the biggest thing I noticed was that was like a charge up blast that you had there. It was like ready to go. So that's cool that you did that. You know, you got a chance to get it out. So um
It felt very weird. Like, who am I to talk about it? But I don't know if anyone has any sort of, if anyone gets any sort of like use from that. And also with the masculine FI, one of the things like with the negativity, the way it kind of felt for me is like, okay, I can't, because it's already negative and it's already like a lot of pressure on self. I had to kind of like go the opposite way. It's just like give myself the grace and kindness to just balance out, because the outside world doesn't feel like it will. That's you have no control over that. So just do that. Just give yourself the grace and like, you know, the kindness, because it is a very difficult thing you're going through. And yeah, and honestly, whatever systems you put in place is like exercise and diet and everything is not optional. It's like it's the thing that you put in place to, I think Tim Ferriss was talking about this as well. It's like you do the things and kind of like, yeah, the routines and everything just to maintain, just keep you like at cruising altitude, then it's like even better. Because once, if you're in that tough and negative spot, um, it's really hard. It's really hard to get out of. So I'm kind of like, yeah, offering empathy to anybody that's out there, anyone that's like going through something bad. They can do it, but it won't happen magically. Unfortunately, you have to be the one that puts the things in place and actually does the little tiny steps, the little SI.
right.
You do SI steps and you do the ST and like the okay, putting things together for yourself. Or maybe that's the sleep. I don't know. I still don't know what blast is. Yeah.
All right. Well, I hope that any IIPs out there or EJs that hear this sounds like more like a decider tip. So if you're a decider, you're having trouble, I think you know Irina has provided some good tips for you guys. I think from a double decider standpoint, I think it's always been kind of obvious to me that if you are having a hard time, that the tribe is a friend and they're not there to make you feel worse. Um, you know, especially if you do have good friends that you've kind of fostered over the years. So it's if you invested in friendship, then that friendship will come and be there for you when you need it most. So and if they don't, then you know that friendship was weak to begin with. So it also gives you a clue on how good your friendship really is, or how strong your link is. So yeah. Anyways, we'll wrap up the interview here. But that thanks Irina for coming out and sharing more about your FI in the top.
Thanks.
All right, take care. Bye bye.